All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Ooh. Either we still are eating or we're just not awake yet. Good evening, everyone. All right. Welcome to the Humanist Society of Greater Phoenix. My name is Alex Zigman. I'm the Vice President and also your host for tonight. So I wanted to say thank you to everyone who volunteered to get this the evening together. We greatly appreciate your help. This organization is run on volunteers and your generous donations. We greatly appreciate that. Is anybody here for the first time?
We have a few, I know.
We have a few? Yes, yes. Oh, there you go. Awesome. Welcome. So we have a number of future meetings coming up. If you like what you're going to experience tonight, this coming Saturday we have the National Space Society. They're going to be meeting, talking about radioisotope power sources. Then we have on Sunday evening we have philosophy under the influence, Hobbes and contractarianism. That's going to be a fun one. Richard and I run that group. Then we have on Saturday the 25th we have book club, Einstein's Dream by Alan Lightman. That looks pretty interesting. Then we have the next Sunday speaker meeting is Dr. Heather Ross, Unraveling the Mystery of Our Healthcare System. And we're going to learn about how the opportunities at individual, community, state, and federal levels to make America's healthcare system work better for everybody. So I'm going to try to keep the announcements very short this morning and have, or just, goodness, you see how often I'm here. This evening, and introduce Pam to introduce our speaker.
Oh, sorry. Hello, good morning. I know that most of you know Tory, but not everyone does, so I wanted to share with you a little bit about her background and how amazing she is and how I really don't know where she finds time to sleep. Tory is a social worker who changed paths into public policy advocacy when she realized that real change occurs at the policy level. She is a well-respected professional lobbyist at the state capitol, known for her work to promote minority groups and otherwise unpopular issues among the legislative majority. She works tirelessly for positive impact clients like the Arizona Alliance for Retired Americans, the Arizona Grandparent Ambassadors, thank you, I'm a new grandparent, and many others who spend their days giving voice to the voiceless. Her work has repeatedly put her on the front lines of important social battles. She was one of the 4 voices at the state senate arguing passionately against the abhorrent SB 1062 when it was introduced, after which she helped energize the equality community to defeat the law. She organized rallies, crafted strategies for advocacy groups, unified disparate voices, and aggressively lobbied to enact positive change. Tory has worked at the organizational, state, legislative, and federal government level, helping unify various and sometimes disparate groups around great causes. She has repeatedly fought injustice and kept spotlights on those that governments overlook, and she will proudly continue doing so for nonprofits and advocacy groups that also want to make the world a better place. Tory is known for her endurance, her spunk, her intelligence, and her willingness to continue fighting for what's right and just. She truly shows courage in the face of adversity. So please help me welcome Tory Roberg.
Hello? Oh, you can hear me now. Okay. And look, I got this to work. Hooray! I think almost. Sorry. Let's see. I don't know. I said for it to go to. Yay! All right. Okay. Well, hi everyone. Thank you for coming out on a Thursday night. This is fun. And thank you for the nice introduction, and thank you to Alex and everyone here at HSGP for having me, and whoever brought those little rolls with the turkey, it's my favorite. Thank you. I love those. So I'm here tonight to give you a little legislative update, but I also am going to tell you a little bit about what we're doing at the Secular Coalition, and I will be done by 7 o'clock, I promise. All right, so first, a little bit about me, as soon as I get this on and moving. Let's see. Alex. I turned it on. See, it says on. It's plugged in. Well, that's fine. I'll move it this way. Maybe it's my...
There you go.
Ah. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. This is me. You can probably see me there. There I am. Hello. These are my kids. This is Audrey. This is Kai. And this is my family. Wow. Clearly, we're in a Catholic church. And I was raised very much Catholic. My family still is. This is my mom and my dad at their 50th wedding anniversary. I'm the baby of 6 children. So growing up Catholic, I was a very staunch Catholic, very much so. I went to Catholic school, and around my confirmation time, that's when you're supposed to confirm that you are Catholic, I realized I wasn't Catholic, and in fact I was an atheist. So it was very hard for me. I was about 17 years old when I realized this. I didn't tell anybody until I was about 24, and I got married, and I said to my parents, no, I'm not getting married in a church, so sorry. Clearly they didn't excommunicate me. My family still loves me. But I think you can understand it. It was like being on an island. It felt very much like being on an island. I was the only one in my family that didn't believe in God anymore. I was the only one in my family that didn't go to church regularly, but it's okay. And so about 6 years ago, after I was in public policy advocacy, I heard that they were looking for a lobbyist for the Secular Coalition for Arizona. And I was like, you gotta be joking! There's a secular coalition? I didn't even know. And so the beauty is that I worked very hard to get this job. I was recommended by the previous person, which was Sarah, and I reached out to her as soon as I heard, and I said, please come have coffee with me, and I convinced her I was the right person for the job. I'd never met her before. And then she introduced me to the board of directors, and here we are. And we get to this, where this is my new family, all of you. So thank you for having me. This is my favorite day of the year at the Arizona State Capitol. This is the day when the secular community comes from all over the state to come together. We network. We have a good time. We have a happy hour, by the way. Any of you, I know a lot of you have normally do come. But we also talk to lawmakers, and we represent. And this is about 150 people. We all gather in the gallery of the House and the Senate. We stand up, we're in the same shirts. It's wonderful. And why is it so wonderful? Well, because we are not on islands. We are organized, we are together, and we're supporting each other, and we're moving forward the ideals of separation of church and state. So I just want to thank everybody who came out last year. If you see yourself, you probably do. You probably do. Next year, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have another. Every year we have one of these. So we're going to have one next year. I don't have the date yet for you. The way it works is August 6th of the year prior, we request the date. So the date has been requested. And I'll hear back from them in the next week or two on the confirmation. So I did request February 12th again. We'll see if we get it. I just thought it'd be fun. I don't know, I came across this. Calvin and Hobbes. So, Calvin says, I don't think math is a science, I think it's a religion. Hobbes is like, huh? A religion? Yeah, all these equations are like miracles. You take two numbers, and when you add them, they magically become one new number. No one can say how it happens. You either believe it or you don't. This whole book is full of things that have to be accepted on faith. It's a religion. And Hobbes says, and in the public schools, no less. Call a lawyer. As a math atheist, I should be excused from this. I really had no point in here, but I thought it was fun. My 8-year-old son is really into Calvin and Hobbes right now, and so he pointed this one out to me. He was like, look. So a little bit about us. The Secular Coalition for Arizona, if you're not familiar with us, we are a 501c4, not a C3. We're a C4 advocacy organization, which means I'm allowed to be at the Capitol and talk politics to anybody all day long, and it doesn't matter for our tax status. It also means that if you give us a donation, it's not tax deductible, although we could work with you to figure that out if needed. We do have a C3, which is an educational component, but I'm not going to talk too much about that today. Our board of directors were led by Zenaido Quintana. All of you probably know him. We did just have a change of officers, but I wasn't sure if it was solidified yet, so I put the old officers down. It hasn't been. So what happens is every 2 years we have officers in the board of directors who are voted on by our liaised organizations, of which you are one of them. And so our new officers haven't been voted on yet. So currently we have Caleb as our vice chair. Jim Lippert has been our treasurer. You guys know NC, Aniko? Yeah, she's fantastic. She's on our board. She's our recording secretary. James Woods is on our board. RT Justice, he was with the Secular Student Alliance for a long time, and now he's with us. He's also a citrus farmer out in the West Valley, one of the most kind and funny people you'll ever meet. Maggie Brooker, she's one of our members also. She helps us with fundraising. Diane Post, she's on our 501c3. She does a lot of our education component, and I have a whole slide dedicated to her, you'll see. Joe Blankenship also, one of our educational members on the 501c3, and I have a whole slide for him too, so we'll talk more. Lindsay Evans, Lindsay, will you raise your hand? Lindsay? Lindsay is our Director of Development, and she's here to help tonight, and of course, me. Okay, look, here's Diane. I can't even tell you how valuable Diane Post is. How many of you know Diane? All right. Then I don't need to tell you, but I'm going to give you a little update about the things that she has done for the Secular Coalition for Arizona as a volunteer board member. Number one, do you remember when I told you, 2 years ago about my son's school sending home the Bible studies flyer? Yep. Oh, I was so mad. It came home, he's 6 years old, he's in first grade. It says food and fun and crafts, and he's like, Mommy, I want to do this. And I was like, oh, okay, this looks like fun. And then I read it, and it's like Bible study. And I was so mad because the school sent this paper home with my small child, right? It should have just come to me, and I could have thrown it away. So I caused a little fuss. I wrote a letter. I got a bunch of responses, but nothing changed. Diane, an attorney, then decided she was going to write the letter. And in fact, she wrote practically the same letter I did, but it says, Diane Post, attorney, Secular Coalition for Arizona. And don't you know, they changed their policy. This is the kind of thing Diane does, right? So now my school district where my son goes, they don't send home flyers anymore. They still have the Bible study, which they're renting the space out, $6 an hour. But they're renting it out. Anyway, they still have it, but the flyers don't come home with the kids. Now they come electronically to us parents, and we can decide if we want our kids to partake. She's doing a research project for us right now with county assessors, where she's asking them, again, about 4 years ago, we had a bill that gave churches a religious tax privilege. Basically said they could be class 9 exempt from property taxes if they lease their property. So this is a bill that Governor Brewer had vetoed. We all remember we had a successful veto. The next year, Governor Ducey comes in and says, yeah, I'm going to sign this bill. So it is our law right now. And we want to know how much that's costing Arizona taxpayers. So it's been enough time to really get a good feel for it. Diane's doing all of the records requests for that. The Arizona Department of Education, how many of you have heard about the attacks on evolution in our science standards? Yep. Right? Well, Diane Post has been working nonstop on records requests pretty much every week. We're trying to stay on top of this to find out what's going to happen. Because right now, the science standards are being done in like this vacuum. We don't know what's going on. We know what they look like, but the process right now is that we're not really going to see them again until they come out for a vote at the Board of Education meeting. It could be next week on August 27th, or if they're not ready, it could be in November. So we've just been hounding them constantly. And I have to say, what's the value of that? There's a lot of value in that. They know we're watching. They know we're watching, and we're going to be ready. She does public records requests for people who need them. Like we get requests at the Secular Coalition. She helps out. So if you have something that you know of that's happening with your city council, in Mesa, Tempe, wherever, or at the Board of Supervisors or in Phoenix, anything, let us know. If it has to do with separation of church and state, we want to help, Diane will help. So she gets her own slide. Thank you, Diane. Let's talk a little bit about our legislative program. So I am at the Capitol Monday through Thursday during the legislative session, which begins the second Monday in January, and it goes until it's over. This year it ended in, I think it was the first week of May, and it was a long ending. It was like a 36-hour marathon of budget. They just didn't stop. They didn't stop working. I was up for a very long time. I was really a zombie. But it's my job to be there. That's my job. I'm not supposed to go home and go to sleep. You guys can do that. I have to stay there, and I'm going to stay there, and I'm going to watch every little thing they do. Because this year, during the budget negotiations, they stuck something in there that basically said it was $100,000, which is pennies almost in the large state budget that we have. But it's $100,000, right? They stuck this $100,000 in as a little line item under the Health and Human Services budget, and they said that money was to help homeless pregnant women. Great, right? That's nice. Only it was restricted monies if the organization did any referrals to an abortion provider, or if they did abortions. So not even if they just do them, if they even give a referral, if they even say, you could go here, if she says, I would like an abortion, can you tell me where to go? And they say, you can go here. They can't get access to this money. So this money is really for the crisis pregnancy centers, which are completely unregulated. They don't give out accurate scientific information. Anyway, so we saw that in the budget as a result of us being there in charge of legislation. We made a big fuss about it, but unfortunately it made it in. We've got to change the legislature, you guys. That's what I'm talking about here today. But whether or not it goes through, we still have to fight, and that's the theme of today. I'm going to track that legislation. I'm going to meet with lawmakers. I've been developing relationships. Like, we have a great reputation at the state capitol among many lawmakers. There's some lawmakers who see me and they go like this, or they walk really fast and they're like, oh no, Tory's coming. And then, because they know that I'm going to hold them accountable, and I'm going to tell them what the secular community thinks about the bill, and we try to get them to vote with us. I work with our coalition partners. We do press conferences, we bring attention to things, and I'm kind of a little spy, so I listen, and I'll just sit there and listen and see what's going on, and if I can make something happen, I will. So, what are we up against in Arizona? And I mean at the legislature. So this is a little answer. A highly partisan Senate and House, and I wrote controlled by, cross that out, I said currently controlled by. All right. So this is J.D. Mesnard. He is the House Speaker. He comes from LB 17. As the Senate President also, they come from the same district. He actually won't be back at the House next year because he's running for the Senate this year, but I hear that his seat might be competitive. So just FYI, it might be competitive, something you might think about looking into. What I wanted to tell you about Mr. Mesnard is that about 2 weeks ago, it was revealed that he is a regional director for the Church Alliance, which is an arm of the Alliance Defending Freedom. Have any of you heard of the Alliance Defending Freedom?
Yeah.
A bunch of you. Well, for those of you who don't know, it is a very powerful attorney group that fights for religious liberty. And what they do is strategically in states all over the country, they push these religious freedom bills, basically the ones that discriminate against people based on your religious beliefs. That's them. That's them. And this guy, he's a regional director for the Church Alliance, an arm of that. So it's not illegal what he's doing. I'm not saying that. You just need to know where his intentions are. And again, competitive race. Yes?
Is that a paid position?
I'm not sure if it's paid or not. I think it probably is. On their website, he's got a title and good stuff. Who else is currently controlling them? Well, it's Senate President Steve Yarbrough. Also from LD 17, and he's running for the House now. Okay? He's retiring. Well, you know, he owns the Arizona Christian School Tuition Organization, which is a huge money-making machine for him in giving state dollars through these private school tuition tax credits. And he, not only does he own the Christian school tuition organization, but he also owns the management company that they contract with. This guy is getting rich off of the legislation, and everybody knows it. It's been in the papers, everybody knows it, but it's still somehow allowed to happen. They have they have a rule at the legislature that says that if it's going to affect more than, I think, 9 people, something like that, that it's not a conflict of interest. So, because it doesn't just benefit him, it benefits more than 9 people, it's not a conflict. So he's been voting on this for the last 15 years.
And he established that rule too.
He did. So it's been a steep uphill battle. I mean, I've been doing this with the Secular Coalition now. This was my 6th session doing this. And when I first started, it wasn't so partisan, believe it or not. Like, we had Republicans who agreed with us and voted with us sometimes. Now it's like one or the other. All of a sudden, it's just so partisan. So it's very difficult. You can see in the House, our split is 35-25. And in the Senate, it's 17-13. So to pass any legislation, you need 50% plus 1, right? So here in the House, we'd have to, in order to pass something that's the Democrats want, they need to get 5 Republicans plus 1, so that's 6. If they want to kill something, they just need 5 because you need 30 or you need 31 to pass it, right? So if they want to kill it, they only need 5. If they want to pass it, they need 6. The way the legislature works is that not every bill gets a hearing. And when they do get hearings, usually they're designed to pass. They're designed to pass. The bills that get hearings are the ones that the chairman wants, and the ones that the chairman wants are the ones that the speaker or the Senate president wants, and that's how it works, unfortunately. So for example, I wanted to show you here, the Education Committee in the House has 9 Republicans and 3 Democrats. How is that representative of Arizona? It's not. Even though we have a few pro-public education Republicans on that committee, if you take those 2 and you put them on the other side, the Republicans are still going to win. They did it this way on purpose. The Health Committee split is a 6-3. That's where a lot of our women's reproductive rights bills should go. They actually don't. They go to Judiciary, which is, I believe, a 5-3 split, or 5-2, yeah. Don't ask me why they send Judiciary the women's health bills. Okay, you can ask me. It's because it's politics. It doesn't make any sense, right? On the Health Committee, we have actually a doctor in the House, and he is on the Health Committee. There's a dentist in the House. She's on the Health Committee. Like, there are people who actually know a thing or two about health, but they send these bills through Judiciary in the House because they want them to pass. And that's the way it is. This is politics. This is why we need to change things. Over in the Senate, again, it's hard to pass it's hard to do anything. It's 5-2. So that's why we can't win all the time. We really have to take what we can get. I'll show you. This is our political reality right now. And somebody asked me, they're like, "You're going to tell us good news today, Tory?" Who was I talking to right before? I was like, oh my gosh, no, it's kind of doom and gloom. Yeah. But I promise you there's going to be some good stuff coming. Okay, I promise. But here's our political reality. It just is what it is. Minority bills rarely ever move. Rarely. Atheist lawmakers are disrespected by their religious colleagues. Disrespected. Athena Solomon, representative here, gives beautiful secular invocations. And every time she does, they give a second prayer right after it. Why? Rudely. And then it turns into a big 45-minute discussion. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys, don't we have a pothole to fill? No, that's the city's job, but you understand what I mean. Don't we have prisons, overcrowded prisons, and underfunded schools? Why do we got to spend an hour talking about her not believing in God, and does that follow the rule because she didn't pray to God on the House floor? It doesn't make sense, but this is our political reality. And the religious lobby is well funded. So I wanted to just point out a few of the groups that are the religious lobby. There's the Center for Arizona Policy, led by Kathy Herod, and they do very much the religious right. All 3 of these, they're always together. They're always together. Alliance Defending Freedom, we talked about that one, and also the Arizona Catholic Conference. They're always together. And it's funny because sometimes I'll see them in the gallery, and I'm like, why are they here? So I don't move. I sit my butt there and I wait, and I'm like, they might know something that I don't know, because remember, who's connected to this? Mesner. Who controls the agendas? Mesner. So they know something I don't know, because he doesn't invite me to his office to tell me what he's doing, just so you know. I have been invited in his office. He's a very nice, cordial person, and he plays piano, but we don't agree on policy at all. And he would never invite me in his office to tell me what's happening. So, what can we do, right? Well, or what are we doing, really? We're normalizing secular invocations. I'm going to tell you more about that. Whether or not they like it, we're normalizing them, because there's nothing wrong with them. We're building relationships like crazy. You guys wouldn't believe, like, we have some very strong relationships at the Capitol now. We are a very well-respected group. And as soon as our people who respect us and like us get into power, then you're going to see some moderates on the other side join with, because secretly they like us. But because of politics, they can't vote with us. It's frustrating. We do lobby on important legislation, even when we know we're going to lose. Every single women's reproductive rights bill that's gone through, I know we're going to lose, but I think maybe I can make it a little bit less bad. So we work on that, and we do that through activating our network and bringing people to the Capitol. We organize constituents like you. Thank you so much. Who in here has ever written a letter to a lawmaker based off of a secular coalition ask? Oh my gosh, that's not enough. Homework for all of you. Did not raise your hands. I am only as strong as the letters that come in behind me, just so you know, okay? They need to hear from you whether or not you think they're going to agree with you.
And you make it easy.
I do make it easy.
Very easy.
We send out an email.
No
so
excuses.
we have, not everybody opens our emails, right? That's normal. So I just encourage you to open the emails, because every time I send you an email, it's not very often, I have to say. Maybe during session I get a little excited. But please open the emails, because it's so easy. It's either going to tell you something about an event we're doing or something coming up, or it's going to say, this is happening and we really need you to just send a letter to your state lawmaker. Click here to send the letter. It's that easy. We need you to speak up in your communities, and we are speaking up too. Talking to different groups and getting more people involved in the movement. And of course, everybody please vote, and we'll talk more about that later. Secular invocations. How far have we come? We talked about normalizing this. Okay. Y'all remember this back in 2013? It was a big deal. This made national news. Oh, and look how I put this one up here. I was searching for an article to show you, right? And I picked this one because for some reason it's headline material that he comes out as atheist. I mean, you don't ever see comes out as Christian, do you? It doesn't happen. It's a double standard. But so I put that up there. It was a big deal. It made national news. Juan Mendez, now senator, did this beautiful secular invocation, and it was huge. And it was the only one of its kind, and that's why it made national news. So, anyone want to take a guess? 2, 5, 6?
16.
16, he says. Anyone else?
18.
18. Have you seen this before?
Oh, Peter.
We had 18 last year, so I'm just so proud to say, even though we can't get our bills heard or passed, we are making progress. We really are, because we're normalizing this. And this is what I mean by normalizing it. This is, okay, let me see. How did I do this? Who were the people? Did I do this one? Okay, no. Okay, so first I did this by denomination. Okay, so we had 83% of our secular invocations this year were given by someone who identifies as a Christian. Okay, we had 14% that were given by people who identify as atheist or humanist. I put secular, but just non-religious. We had 1% Jewish. There was a beautiful, beautiful secular invocation given by a rabbi from Tempe. And Navajo. Now, this one's a little bit different. It looks kind of the same, which is why I got confused. Sorry, it's my own slide. I should know. But I wanted you to know, not only did they identify as Christians, But this is how it breaks down, right? Humanists, Unitarian Universalists, non-denominational Christians, Catholics, Episcopalians, Methodists, Buddhists. These are people who are congregation leaders, even, who came and wanted to do this, who volunteered. And this is all a part of our grassroots organizing and advocacy. That we get people coming to the Capitol who lead congregations of religious organizations who say, it's not right that they don't allow secular invocations, let me do it. I love it. The more religious people we can bring into our movement, the stronger we are. It's the truth. We need people who have a religious faith but believe in the separation of church and state to stand with us as allies. And by us, I mean atheists. You know, I already came out to you like 10 minutes ago. But it's the truth. These are our allies, and we are working in the off-season to build and grow these relationships even more. All right, so let me see where I'm on time. I'm good. Okay. So, welcome. This is we're going to talk a little bit about the legislation that we saw last session. This is what Ditat Deus. Ditat Deus has been our state motto since 1863. Please don't quote me on that. I knew it during session, but I've forgotten. And it has been our motto all this time, Ditat Deus. Well, Gail Griffin from Sierra Vista decided this year that we needed to change to God and Riches, which is the Judeo-Christian translation of Ditat Deus. And she seemed to think it didn't matter, that it was the same thing. And all the lawmakers who voted for this, they all said that too. They're like, what's the big deal? It's an accurate translation. And I'm sitting in their offices and I'm saying, it's a big deal to me because I have children. And I don't want my son sitting in a classroom like this, looking at the board that says God and Riches with no explanation. And so it's all about humanizing this, right? And I can tell you that this, we did lose, this bill got signed, so sorry. But this is the win on it, and I'm going to tell you right now, because I had Democrats vote for this in committee, on both sides, the Senate side and the House side. During committee, there was one Democrat in each committee that voted for this. They didn't quite understand it. By the time it got to the vote on the floor, I had convinced every single Democrat to vote against it. So we had a solid block. Nobody voted for this bill. And it turned into a very good conversation on the House floor about this bill. Now, how did I get these Democrats that were a little iffy, who had kind of the same thing? One, it's through relationships, right? They know me, they trust me. I do, positive work. Two, I showed them this. This is a high school calculus teacher out of San Diego, California. He teaches calculus, and this is his classroom. And this is the kind of thing that can happen. It's literally in your face. I'm allowed to put this up, so I'm going to put this up, but we all know what this is, right? And so, this gentleman, he was told by his school district to take it down. And so he filed an appeal and said, it's my First Amendment right to put this up in my classroom. Well, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said, no, actually, you can't put that in your classroom, and told him no. And so we have been working this basis on this bill that it's unconstitutional and that the courts have already dropped it. What I need, so I'm giving this outreach to you, if you know of anybody. If there's a teacher in Arizona who does put God and Riches up in their classroom, because it is permissive language, it's not required. If there's a teacher who does this and there's a parent in the classroom who objects, please tell me, because then we can file a lawsuit. And it can't be my kid. I tried. I was like, can it be mine? No. So let us know. This is where we need our grassroots for sure, because we are ready and we feel like we have the grounds to fight this. So you say, well, gosh, Arizona, we're just like that. That's just the way we are. But what I want to tell you is that it's part of a national push. In 2018, all 4 of these bills passed across the country. Ours is one of them. They put God and Riches in our classrooms. Permissive, yes. The rest, you wouldn't believe it, but they're all required. National motto. And I'm not talking about e pluribus unum. It's in God we trust, right? So now Tennessee, Arkansas, and Florida all require the posting of this in a conspicuous place where everybody can see it in schools in those states. This part of this Project Blitz, which I believe that Joe Blankenship is maybe giving another talk on in the future, so I'll save it, but it's basically a playbook for states for the evangelical religious right to push similar legislation in states across the country, much like you might be familiar with like ALEC, that type of stuff, but it's for the religious right. Okay. This is a nice picture. The handmaids came to the Capitol. I invited them. I really did. Okay, so there was a bill on women's reproductive rights where basically what they were saying was that this was the reporting bill. Do you all remember this was in the news? They were saying women were going to have to report the reason for their abortion to the Department of Health Services, to the state of Arizona. It's none of your business. None yet, right? So we had this press conference. Oh, look who it is. Hi, Dan. We had this great press conference. We invited the handmaids. We made a big stink about it. And as I said before, sometimes we can't kill a bill, but we make it less bad. So as introduced, it did require women to tell DHS, the Department of Health Services, the reason why she wanted an abortion. And it adds cumbersome reporting requirements on abortion requirements. Oops, providers. It's supposed to be providers. The bill still does all that. So it still makes it harder on abortion providers by just adding more paperwork, more bureaucracy to that. We couldn't get that stuff out of there, but we did get the part out about the women being asked why, being said, you know, you have to tell the state. So that's a small win. Oh. I know, don't bother reading it. I mean, you can if you want to. I wanted to show you, I did it like this as a visual in a sense, to show you all of these good bills that never got a hearing. Every single bill up here never got a hearing. There's things up here about medical aid in dying, anti-discrimination. There are bills in here about pulling back all of these requirements on abortion providers that make it harder for women to have any kind of reproductive care. I already said anti-discrimination. There's also there's the hateful language for LGBTQ youth, that the schools aren't even allowed to talk about homosexuality in a positive way. They're not allowed. So we have all these youth who go to school and they learn about sex education, but they don't identify with what's being talked about, and they're not allowed to even talk about it in a positive way. So these are all the bills that never saw the light of day, and these are all the bills that I hope that our friends get the chance to run and have heard in committee next year. This is my wish list. This is my wish list. You know, we've been building and growing all of these relationships so that when the time comes, we can enact our wish list. This is mine. I'd like to repeal the religious privileges in tax law. I'd like to repeal the harmful restrictions on women's health care providers, the hateful language and statute against LGBTQ youth, removing discriminatory language against LGBTQ adoptive parents. Did you know that's in there too? That it's very specific that they give preference to a husband and wife, man and woman, when it comes to state adoptions. I would like to remove the In God We Trust license plates. So let me ask you a question. How many of you have a special license plate of any kind? Okay, do you know where that money goes? Which one do you have? Which license plate?
The name of my car.
Oh no, I mean on your license, like a specialized license plate.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You don't, okay. How about you, Anita? Which one do you have?
It has to do with animals.
Animals. Do you know where the money goes?
I was assuming it's going towards the spay and neuter programs, but.
Don't know for sure, right?
now?
Does anyone know where the money goes for In God We Trust?
God?
Would you like to know? So basically, when you buy a specialized license plate, like she did for the animals, right? There's also a science one. There's all kinds of specialized license plates. The way it works is you pay an extra fee, and the state of Arizona then takes a portion of that and gives it to a charity that has already been determined, okay? Usually it's done, the way that this legislation works when they get a specialized license plate passed, They need to have $30,000. They need to have a legislative sponsor that runs it, and the legislature has to approve it. And then basically, that's all they need. $30,000, and the legislature approves it. It's very hard to get done, right? And then the money just flows in because people are like, oh, I love In God We Trust. I'm going to get a license plate. It goes to the Alliance Defending Freedom, just so you know. Now you know, $750,000 through the state of Arizona, funneled through the state of Arizona to what has been called a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center, just so you know. Now, can we do anything about that? Maybe. We're working on it to see if there's anything we can do, but it's perfectly legal what they're doing, so we'll see. I just think that most people don't realize where it goes. They might think, oh, In God We Trust, it goes to, I don't know, like Catholic Charities maybe or something. I honestly don't know. The Arizona Science Center one, I'm sorry, there's a science license plate, the money goes to the Arizona Science Center. There's an organ donor one and it goes to the Organ Donor Network. Like there's some you can see, but for the most part, this stuff is nasty because it's not open to the public. We had to do a records request through a state lawmaker to find out where the money went. So it's not like it's hiding, but it's not easily accessible. Again, back to this, I want to end the school tax credits for private religious schools. I want to end tax and budget giveaways to religious charities. I would love to see Arizona have medical aid and dime, or at least a conversation. Can we at least talk about it? Comprehensive sex education in our public schools. And the last one, change the state motto. That's kind of the bottom of my list. I don't know what we would want to do, but I think Deus is, you know, a little.
I built it myself.
I mean, we could just be like, not California or something. I don't know. We could easily make it secular. It's not hard, right? Okay. Next one. I got. Okay. So back to the state capitol, right? Bible studies. They do offer 2 Bible studies to lawmakers every week on different days. And we found out about this a couple years ago, and instead of getting mad, we created secular studies. So I'm going to give you an update on this. It was our pilot program, began late February 2016. So we've run it now for 3 sessions, and I just had a meeting about it today. We're going to do it again next year. Next year, we're going to really focus on the separation of church and state and bring in a lot of constitutional attorneys. We think we'll get more Republicans to come. They like to argue, and we think we can bring in the constitutional attorneys to have those arguments. It's a weekly lunch discussion group at the state capitol for lawmakers only. A lot of people ask me, can I come to secular studies? No, I'm sorry. It's really just for lawmakers. It's a safe space for them because we do get a bipartisan group. We do get Republicans and Democrats. And we don't invite the press or the media, and we don't really talk about what was said. The point is for them to talk to each other and to have a good discussion about whatever topic we have that day. So sometimes we have had previous discussions on like segregation in schools and things like that, because secular government just means without religion. So we can really talk about anything in secular studies, just, not religion. But we do encourage the lawmakers, if they're religious, they're welcome to express their opinions about something based on their religious views. That's fine. But we're not going to be opening the Bible to find the answers. We're actually trying to have an intelligent discussion. Our sessions, it's the first of its kind, and as far as we know, it's the only one in the state, in the United States legislatures. It's very popular. We get between 18 and 25 lawmakers each week who show up and have this conversation. And Joe, that's the only picture I could find of him, you guys. I really need to get a better picture of Joe because I think this one is like, I think it's old. I want to get one of him in a Secular Coalition t-shirt. Anyway, so Joe has been, he's on my board of directors, and he has been so helpful in planning these, finding speakers, recruiting them, and really creating the curriculum for secular studies. So for that, I thank him, and I'll give him the good news that we're on for next year, and we got to get started. Who are these beautiful people? Some of my favorite people at the state legislature. These are our 2018 Secular Stars. So you say, what is a secular star? Well, these are state lawmakers who went above and beyond voting. So I can usually get people to vote with me, a nice block of people to vote with me. But these are people who've done extra. They've done extra. They've either called me and said, hey, this is happening, did you know about it? And maybe I did, maybe I didn't, right? Or there are people who call me and say, hey, Tory, can you find someone to do a secular invocation because I have the prayer next week? That's my favorite kind of call. And yes, I'll find someone every time. In fact, we had 2 people from the Humanist Society come out this year. One person specifically from the Humanist Society and the other is one of your members, Ron Russell. And he came and did a Buddhist prayer. Let's see. Let me tell you. Let's see. Mark Cardenas, he's not coming back to the state legislature. He's retiring this year, so what a bummer. We're going to miss him. This guy let me in his office every day, pretty much, gave me a soda, and said, what's going on in your world, and helped me anytime I needed it. Isela Blanc, she is in the House of Representatives, LD 26, which is like the Tempe area. She's fantastic. She, the reason why she gets a secular star was because she's one of those people that really reached out and said, please bring me someone to do invocations because I really value that. Of course, you know Senator Mendez, and he does all kinds of things for us, including reading practically anything that I give to him. I say, did you know this is happening today? And he's like, what? And I'll hand him something, he'll read it, and he'll say, yep, I'm going to read that. And he'll read it on the House floor or the Senate floor. Athena Salmon, she's also fantastic. These are your, you know, these 3 are from Tempe. I mean, come on, they're awesome.
Phoenix.
What
Part of Phoenix.
Part of Phoenix. Part of Phoenix. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. This one's new this year. How many of you know her? Any of you know who this is? This is Charlene Fernandez. Charlene Fernandez is from LD4. She lives in Yuma. She has one of the largest districts in the state. She represents part of Yuma, part of Goodyear, part of Tucson, Gila Bend. I mean, it's huge, huge. She's practicing Catholic. She's a devout Catholic. And she values the separation of church and state. And she stands up and talks about it all the time on the floor of the House. And she's also someone who's done secular invocations for us. In fact, her colleague, Don Shooter, was getting expelled one day. And it just so happened that that was her prayer day. And we had Reverend David Felton from the United Methodist Church. He happened to be there to give a secular invocation on the day when it was packed and there was media and cameras everywhere, and it was just fantastic. Dr. Randall Freese is from Tucson. And he's in leadership in the House, as is Charlene, also in leadership. Also, every single person here comes to secular studies, by the way. But Dr. Freese, he's always willing to help me with legislation dealing with women's reproductive rights. I mean, he is going to protect women and their reproductive rights because not only is he a doctor, but he's just a great human being. And he's done a lot for secular government. He also does secular invocations. He has actually, he did 2 this year, I think. Representative Paris Hanley, she's also from Tucson, and boy, is she secular. She kind of sought me out and was like, I've heard, when she first came as a freshman, she's like, I've heard about what you do, and I want to be helpful. And I was like, you're on the list, you get a star. Representative Reginald Boulding, he is from, his district is like South Phoenix area, and he is getting a secular star because he spoke up to help us out on the God and Riches bill. He basically was the voice of reason in that committee, and he did that because I had gone to him ahead of time and said, does this make sense to you? And he said, yes, it makes sense to me. And so he spoke up about it, which I appreciate. Daniel Hernandez from Tucson, I really value him very much because he speaks up also for women's health care. He used to work with Planned Parenthood. And so he's also one of these lawmakers that seeks me out and says, you know, did you know this is happening? And this is Sally Ann Gonzalez. She's from Tucson. She is one of the lawmakers who stood up immediately to defend Representative Athena Salmon when she was being disrespected and they were attacking her on the House floor for being an atheist. And she said, and she's Catholic too, and she said basically, I would hate for someone to attack me for my religious beliefs, and so you need to stop attacking her. How many of you were there in the, this happened in the House gallery during Secular Day?
Yeah.
Some of you were there, that's her, so yeah, she got a star. Yes. All right, moving along, I've got about 7 minutes. Well, somebody in Washington, D.C. from the Secular Coalition for America seems to think that we might be able to sway Jeff Flake. So everybody, please call Jeff Flake and tell him no on Brett Kavanaugh. Why? Well, you can tell Jeff Flake because Kavanaugh would open the floodgates for public money to flow to private religious schools. Well, Flake probably wants that. We could tell him that Kavanaugh will weaken Roe versus Wade. He probably wants that too. And Kavanaugh was handpicked by the religious right, of which Flake is probably a part of. That being said, please do call his office and tell him you are a secular values voter, even if you think, and I do think, it's not going to sway him, but he needs to know we're here and that we're watching what he's doing. So please call. Okay, here's the next thing. Secular Coalition for Arizona has taken a public position on this proposition, and I realize HSGP is a C3, but C3s can take positions on propositions. Yes. So I felt comfortable telling you, this is how we recommend you vote on 305. 305 is the voucher referendum, and so we feel that school vouchers are unfairly giving money to religious schools and taking it away from public schools, which are secular by nature. So we're asking for a no vote on 305. And you'll see in your publicity pamphlet in November, we wrote a nice piece. And so we're published in that, so take a look if you need any more reasons why. You can take action. Have you, I was just gonna leave this here. Yeah, like, would you please? How many of you have a cell phone? If you text Secular AZ to 52886, you're going to join our action alert system. You'll get a text when something's happening instead of an email, okay? I'm not going to spam you. I just don't do that. I don't like to be spammed. But when something's happening, I like to know about it, and I hope you do too. So if you would like to be in the know when things are happening at the Capitol, join this. And also, I might text you when there's an event coming up or something that you can be supportive of, like the Secular Summit. I did get that date right. I meant to double check the date. Shoot. We are going to have the Secular Summit here at the Humanist Society of Greater Phoenix. Thank you very much for hosting us again. It is a membership meeting, so you do have to be a member of the Secular Coalition to come to this meeting. Why? Well, we do some strategic planning. We have good discussions. We're going to have some informative speakers. But this is really a valuable day for me as your lobbyist, because I like to hear from you about what your priorities are and to make sure that I'm representing that appropriately at the state capitol. It's an all-day event. We will probably have tacos, which is funny because like one of my board members is like, why is it always tacos? And I'm like, because they're cheap. You can feed a lot of people. I definitely have fed a lot of people on tacos. So anyway, it's networking. It's really fun. We're planning it right now, so I hope you'll join us. There's more information coming. There will be a fee associated with it because we'd like to pay for the cost of the food, but we don't. It's not a money-making venture for us. So if you want to donate to us, we'll certainly take it. So how can you help? Number one, please vote. If you live in a district with a secular star, I encourage you to look at their record. We also have a scorecard on our website that lists the voting records of lawmakers in every district on every bill that went to the floor for a vote. So we don't score them on bills that only were heard in committee. Please respond to our action alerts. Please give us money. Okay? Lindsay's better at asking for that than me, but the truth is that this Secular Coalition for Arizona is the only secular coalition in the entire country that has a lobbyist at the state capitol. And why is that? It's because we're fully funded by people in Arizona who care about the work we're doing. That's it. And so we don't get any money from out-of-state donors. We literally are the voice of Arizona's secular community, and so we appreciate everything you can do to help us keep going. We're like a one-tenth or maybe 5% budget of the Center for Arizona Policy. They have a $2 million budget, so FYI. We're not there yet, but we're working on it. Oh, that brings me, okay, look at this. Oh, volunteer for a secular candidate. And if you need some help finding out how you can volunteer for somebody, I'm just going to be standing right outside the doors later. You can come talk to me, and I'll tell you. I know there's things going on this weekend. There's a primary happening. There's things going on all the time. And personally, I can tell you where you need to go. So just come see me. And please participate in your liaised organization like Humanist Society for Greater Phoenix, and please give to your liaised organizations. All right, next. Let's see. Ha. This is what I'm getting at. Does anyone know this man?
Yeah.
I mean, personally.
No.
Because I want to meet him. So I figured I'd ask. So, Josh Rosen, if you're listening, Josh, come meet the Secular Coalition. It's a perfect match. He's the only open atheist in the NFL.
Wow.
And he's here in Arizona. He just got drafted to be the second string quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. He just started the preseason. And I think he needs to become a member of the Humanist Society. Yeah. And the Secular Coalition. So if you reach out to your network, just let me know, casually, like, hey, yeah, have some coffee with Tory. But do welcome him to Arizona because he has been getting a lot of heat from the football community for being an atheist. They're saying things like he's not going to get along in the locker room. How can he be a good quarterback? I mean, you can just Google it and you'll see he's getting a lot of. But then again, he did just get a huge contract with the Cardinals. I don't think they cared. So I'm happy for him and he's welcome in Arizona. All right. On our website, you can find our scorecards, and the website's actually in really bad shape right now. So I hate to send you there, but we're working on getting it updated. What do you think? How much time do you think it's going to be?
It's going to be a little while, but I've been actually working with NC to get it shaped up, and we're going to bring it into 2018 soon.
Right. So there is information on the website, though. You can use it, but when you go there, you'll be like, oh, I see why Tory said it's not that. But there is information there. Please go there. But you'll always get the most direct information from us if you sign up for our action alerts or if you follow us on Facebook.
And you can actually sign up along with the text that she already gave you. There's a sign-up sheet over on the table here, too.
Yeah, please do. Give us your email address, and maybe you'll open your email. That would be so kind. Okay, so you can become a partner, like I was talking about. We just really do rely on your gifts. So if you value the work that we do rely on you to keep us going.
What's the difference between a donor and a partner?
I think that's just a term that our previous development director came up with, a partner. I don't know. I think it's the same thing. Partner is just becoming one of us, donating to our organization. The only thing that's different is you can become a member. You can donate without becoming a member. And you can become a member, and your $30 to become a member is actually a donation to us, which we appreciate. Thank you very, very much. Thank you all, whoever has donated to us, past, present, and future. And do you have any questions? It's 7:01. Oh my gosh, I'm 1 minute off.
Perfect timing. First, thank you very much, Tory. So if anyone has any comments or questions, let me know because we want to get it on the video. So, anything?
I'll make a comment. When I called Senator Flake last, I encouraged him to vote against Kavanaugh because I don't think Trump should be appointing people who will be sitting in judgment on him. And considering Flake's views towards Trump, I think that might carry more weight than
I think that's great.
what she said.
However you can, make sure you call his office, tell him, that you're a secular values voter, or whatever you want to say, just encourage him to vote no. Tweet at him, Facebook message him, anything you can do.
Tory, if I'm getting an email from you, what is the email address that's going to show up as the sender?
Sometimes it's tory@secularaz.org, and sometimes it's info@secularaz.org.
Okay, thank you.
Tory, and with regards to donations, are we able to set up regular donations like on a monthly basis or?
Yes, and Lindsay can help you with that. Recurring donations are so helpful. I know I do
Good
that, like
question.
KJZZ, I give them money every month. They call it sustaining members, so that's the easiest way to do it. We do appreciate that.
I was just going to mention Jeff Flake is on the Judiciary Committee, and so he needs to hear both on the committee and personally, because what happens in the committee will affect what happens on the floor.
Thank you. So she said he's on the Judiciary Committee, in case you didn't hear the first part. So.
And also, if anybody wants a yard sign for No on 305, I have them.
Oh, I'll take one. I don't have one. I like one. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Anyone? Bueller? No. All right, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Tori, and I was going to traditionally mug you, but you have such a huge collection of mugs. We just want to say a huge, huge thank you for all the hard work you do.
Thank you so much. Also, that was my first time giving the presentation this year, so if you have any comments for me to make it better, I've got like 8 more to do this year, so I will gladly take your feedback on what was missing, what was good, anything.
And it was excellent, you had one typo, which you already caught.
I did have a typo, but yes, thank you.
So, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. There's plenty of food in the back. Please help us get rid of some of it. We've got a couple of events that we could use it, but also if you could help us clean up, we do greatly appreciate you attending tonight. If you could help us out with food costs and move a little money in the jar, that'd be great too. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you everybody for coming out tonight and learning once again what to be frustrated and even happy about from Tory. So have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Where do we get a copy of your wish list? It's a good kind of